Representative Martin, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I request the Sergeant of Arms escort our guest into the chamber.
Mr. Sergeant at Arms, please escort the guest to the well. Representative Martin, you are recognized.
Mr. Speaker, I request the clerk read the resolution.
Mr. Clerk, please read the resolution.
House Joint Resolution 1134 by Chairman Martin, a resolution to honor and commend Tonya Craft on her distinguished service to the legal profession and the state of Tennessee. Whereas it is fitting that we should salute those citizens who, through their extraordinary efforts, have distinguished themselves as community leaders of whom we can all be proud. And whereas one such noteworthy person is Tonya Craft, an attorney whose personal experience inspired her to attain her legal degree and help others pursue truth and justice. And whereas after false accusations of sexual abuse ended her 20-year career as a kindergarten teacher in 2007, Tonya Craft had to advocate for herself by assembling a team of attorneys and expert witnesses to pursue justice in her case. And whereas fighting for truth for more than 2 years in the legal system, Ms. Craft was acquitted of all charges in 2010 and subsequently decided to earn law degree, completing law school after being sworn in as an attorney in 2019. And whereas today Ms. Craft is the head of Tonya Craft Legal Attorneys at Law in Chattanooga, leading her team to their collective mission to practice law differently and obtain justice for their clients. And whereas we find it appropriate to acknowledge and applaud Tonya Craft for her dedication to the state of Tennessee and its citizens, now therefore be resolved by the House of Representatives of 114th General Assembly of the State of Tennessee, the Senate concurring, that we specially recognize and honor Tonya Craft, reflecting on her stalwart commitment to living the examined life with courage and conviction as we commend her meritorious service to her community and this state.
Representative Martin, you recognized.
Members, no doubt every one of us here can remember the worst day of our life if we've lived it. And if we've yet to live that day, and that day is on the sunrise, it'll be like a sunset. Because it's a day that grips our hearts and minds that we never really get over emotionally. And today before us, Ms. Tonya Craft is an individual who experienced the worst day of her life in 2008 when she was arrested and would face 22 counts of child molestation of little girls. As you might imagine, her teaching career was over. She lost her home. She lost her children. She lost a lot, as you might imagine, but she persisted and she fought back for 2 years and she beat the charges and was acquitted because she refused to let the worst day of her life define her. But not only that, she went on to go to law school and said, from this day forward, I'm going to help other people who have been falsely accused. And she's done that with her law firm. She went to the Nashville School of Law, and she continues to fight for those who've been falsely accused. She once told me that, Greg, I only defend those who I believe are innocent. I said, I don't think I've ever met a lawyer who only defends those that they think are innocent. But she's on a mission. She's written a bestseller. It's called The Accused. Currently, Netflix is doing a movie on her life story, and she has a documentary as well that's coming out. I am so proud that she lives in District 26. I'm so proud of how that she's an overcomer and an inspiration to the people in my community. She's joined today with her husband, David, who incidentally, we graduated high school together, by her daughter, Aiden, and her son got married Saturday, so he's taking care of business this week and not able to be here. And she is joined by her mother, Miss Ferris, who is here. Where is she? And so many of her friends and people that work in the law, and also Judge Christy Sales, Hamilton County General Sessions Judge, who was her lawyer at one point. And she's standing here to honor her in the state of Tennessee. Mr. Speaker, with your permission, I would ask that you let Attorney Craft say a word or two.
You're recognized.
Thank you. First of all, I can never speak as fast as the individual spoke. I may not do that. I want to thank you for letting me be here today. Sorry, I'm going to probably get a little emotional. It is an honor to be here. It's a blessing. And when I look back and think where I could be if things, and I'm not going to beat up on you, but whenever he had said that I beat the charges, my whole goal the whole time was to prove I was innocent. It wasn't to manipulate. It wasn't to change things. It was to prove I was innocent. The doorbell rang one day in 2008, and when the doorbell rang, I had two things on my counter. I had an application for a PhD program and an application for law school. And that doorbell obviously answered a lot of questions that I had. The doorbell rang, my life changed. My children were there, first day of summer. It was a wonderful day. But after that day, after the 2 years that Mr. Martin spoke about in the trial, and there was an acquittal, there was a large media presence. The national media got involved, so people started reaching out to me. So an individual reached out to me. I worked on his case as a consultant for 2 years, still trying to figure out what I wanted to do. His trial ended up in a judgment of acquittal, which anybody that knows much about the law, that's very unusual for it to happen. I sat in the parking lot after this individual was acquitted. We cried, we hugged, and I literally prayed. And I thought, God, is this it? Because if it is, it's good. Another person was proven to be innocent. But is this all I was supposed to do? And as soon as I finished the prayer and I said, please tell me, my phone rang, and it was another gentleman who said, I don't know how I got your number, but I reached out to you to see if you would please help me. And at that moment, I knew that I needed to do what I needed to do. So I consulted for years, and then I went to law school, continued to consult while I was in law school. Whenever this occurred, I think that I had two things I could do. I could either let it devastate me or motivate me. For me, I let it motivate me. At first, I tried to change the whole system. That's what you're doing, right? Changing the whole system. I realized very quickly that was not going to happen. So then I had to step back and say, what could I do? It's like the story that people tell all the time about the starfish. I had to step back and realize I may not be able to make it to where no one could be falsely accused, but I could help those that were. So I have worked in probably over 30 states so far. I travel all over the United States. I've done some international work as well and help people that are falsely accused. I have attorneys that do tell me, they say, if you don't represent just anybody, then you're not a real attorney. So my answer to them is, how I define myself is I don't define myself as a lawyer. I define myself as as a teacher that has a law degree. So they always love that. I'm not a traditional attorney. I don't do things the same way. I don't accept when other lawyers say, this is the way it's always been done. I was in court in Texas last week, and that's what I heard. Well, this is the way it's always been done. And I said, show me the rule. Show me the law that says it's supposed to be done that way. And they couldn't, so the judge happened to rule in my favor. I want to say how honored I am and how humbled. I've lived in Tennessee my entire life. I grew up here. I was born and raised here. I love living in Tennessee. I represent individuals. I represent teachers in Chattanooga as well, and in the state of Tennessee. I want to say thank you to Mr. Martin, because I know that he stands on the right side. And that's the thing with me. I worked in the prosecutor's office, and I helped prosecute people that did terrible things to children, because if they do, they need to be prosecuted. But I just want to do things the right way. I want to be on the correct side, and hopefully I'm doing that today. I'm going to fight for justice. I'm going to fight for truth, and I appreciate the opportunity that I have. I couldn't have done this without my family, without my friends, without Nashville School of Law, without Mr. Martin, and definitely the most two important people in my entire life, my two children. So thank you so much for the honor of being here. I'm truly blessed. Thank you.
Representative Martin.
Mr. Speaker, would you mind coming and taking a picture with this beautiful family and friends today?